Hi there, you are listening to the Guitar Speak podcast. My name's Matt Wakeling, and this is the show that I produce in my hometown of Sydney, Australia, where I speak to leading guitar players from all around the world. Thank you so much for joining me. Now today I speak to one of the absolute legends of the global guitar community, and that is Albert Lee. Now Albert has carved out an incredible career. As a sideman, he's worked alongside people such as Emmylou Harris, Cindy Cash Dollar, the Everly Brothers, the Crickets, and the one and only Eric Clapton. Now Clapton is quoted as saying Albert Lee is the greatest guitar player in the world. So I asked Albert about that, and that's a fun part of the conversation. We also talk about Albert's long-standing relationship with Music Man guitars, his love of Fender amps, and much, much more. Now, this episode is brought to you by Fretboard Biology, the comprehensive online guitar course put together by our friend Joe Elliott. Now, Joe was the head of the Guitar Institute of Technology, the head of guitar there, as well as at the McNally Smith College of Music. So he knows his business when it comes to teaching guitar. Here's a few words from Joe.
If you're tired of wading through hundreds of random guitar videos and just want to become a better player, Fretboard Biology is your answer. Fretboard Biology is a self-paced, college-level program that'll give you the right instruction, in the right amounts, and in the right order. You'll learn the same information I taught to thousands of other guitar players over 30 years of teaching in top music colleges. If you want to make real progress with your guitar playing, then sign up for a free 7-day trial at fretboardbiology.com.
All right, there you go. Now, I was one of the beta testers for Fretboard Biology, and so I know firsthand that it's a beautifully paced and delivered course, and I'm super happy to have Joe Elliott and his team from Fretboard Biology on board as sponsors. Okay, let's jump into our interview with Albert King. This was originally published on the Guitar Speak podcast in 2018, leading up to the Sydney Guitar Festival and the appearance of the Albert Lee Band. All right, let's jump straight in. Albert Lee, welcome to the Guitar Speak podcast.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Albert, we're really looking forward to you touring Australia in August. I know this is your first tour here in around 10 years, but it's certainly not your first trip to Australia.
Oh no, I've been coming quite a bit over the years, maybe a dozen times. But yeah, it's been a little while since I was down there, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, fantastic. Hey, I was just listening to your latest album, Live at the Iridium, that was released a little bit earlier this year, and it finds you and your band in such great form.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I don't. I'm just trying to think who's on that. It won't be the same musicians, but
sure.
they'll be just as good. I plan to bring my the American band down with me, but the drummer can't make it, so I'm bringing a drummer I work with in England. So it's a mixture.
Okay, cool.
So, I've worked with these guys for a while now, so it's going to be fun.
Fantastic.
And they're looking forward to it too, of course.
Albert, you're almost heading into your 6th decade as a professional guitar player. What keeps driving you to keep recording and performing?
Well, I feel fortunate that I can still play, and I've always been able to play because I've always been able to work. I think in some respects, if I'd been like a household name, in some super group, my playing might have suffered. I think a lot of those guys just don't play every day. They don't need to, But I've, never a week doesn't go by without me having to play somewhere, So, which keeps me in fine fettle, I like to think.
Definitely. Like I said, listening to that record, there's as much verve and joy in those licks as I've ever heard.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I enjoy it. Yeah, it's going to be good.
Now, your breakout hit as a solo artist was, of course, Country Boy, which came out in 1975. Now, that's been said to redefine country guitar playing for a new generation of players. People like Ricky Skaggs, who, of course, covered it later in his career. How do you feel about being such an influence on a whole generation of players?
Well, it's quite an honor, really, to be, coming from England. And I get asked often, they say, well, how did you get into country? And I said, well, it wasn't any more unusual than, a British guy getting into the blues, really.
Sure.
It was something I liked to listen to, and I became quite good at it. And to be able to go to America and be accepted by, such great players over there, that was icing on the cake, really. I think they liked my approach because I was playing their country music with a bit more of a rock and roll, British rock and roll edge.
Yeah.
And so, I was, certainly well received when I got to LA, and remained so. It's been great. There are a lot of players out there who play like me now. Which is, that's an honor too. Really, you can tell. Well, I can tell when I listen to certain guys. I say, well, I think they've listened to me, and. But I listen to a lot of American players, and I can hear influences all the players I grew up with. So we just we pass it on. Pass on the torch.
Yeah. Interesting. You say when you went to America. So that's the mid-70s, I believe. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. Well, I started touring in the early 70s with a band called Head, Hands and Feet. And then, the band broke up, but some of us stayed there, and then I ended up with the Crickets, Buddy Holly's old band, the Crickets, and through them got to meet some of my heroes, my other heroes, and the longer I stayed in LA, the bigger foothold I was able to make, when I joined Emmylou in 1976, I realized at that point that this is it now. I'm playing with an American band that's really going somewhere. She'd just done a second album, and so it was just great to be to make that move.
Exactly, yeah. Well, she's an institution. Yeah. I mean, speaking of other American institutions, you ended up being the music director for the Everly Brothers when they did their reunion tour. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, actually, I'll get that does get quoted now and again. I wasn't really the musical director. In fact, they put the band together. Fortunately, they both chose me to be the guitar player, but they picked the other musicians as well, and we were all very familiar with the music. We grew up with it, and we'd be rehearsing, and then we put on the record and listen to it and say, "Oh yeah, I remember that." Yeah, and it would all fall into place. There wasn't really any moment where say, "Oh no, well you do that and you do this." Everybody really had a feel for the music, and it just fell into place.
Mm-hmm. How about the Eric Clapton gig? You spent around 5 years playing beside Eric and singing in his band. Tell me about that.
Oh yeah, well we've been friends for a few years. We met in the mid '60s in London, playing the same circuit when he was with John Mayall and I was with a guy named Chris Farlow. So I'd see a lot of him. We became friends, and then he formed Cream. And I'd run into him occasionally, and I guess it was a few years later that I did get to finally spend some time with him, and that was in England. He was involved in an album of an American singer named Mark Benno, and they suggested that I might be good on the record too, you know. So I did more or less a whole week in the studio with Eric, and at the end of which he said, I've just, the last tour I did, I didn't have a second guitar player, and do you want to come out on the road? And I thought, well, sounds great, you know. In fact, my first record had just about to be released, and I thought, what? And I didn't know what to do at that time. I thought, what do I get back with Emmylou? Do I put a band together, or what do I do? And of course, I had the offer from Eric, and I thought, well, I'll do this for a while. This should be fun.
Uh-huh.
And he actually fired the whole band after the first tour, and retained me. And then a couple of years later, he had an English band and fired all those guys, and still I was able to hang on to my gig, you know. But yeah, so it came as no surprise when he let me go after 5 years, you know, because he was going through some health things, and I think, you know, but you know, we're still good friends, and I've done the Crossroads concerts with him and other, you know, a couple of other things. So we're still good mates, you know.
Great. Yeah, he certainly name checks you as one of the greatest guitar players in the world, indeed. So no doubt.
Well, yeah, that's another quote that I it makes me cringe a little bit,
Really?
because I don't think it's the kind of thing he would have said. In fact, I did ask him about it one time. I said, Eric, I really have to apologize. I keep seeing this quote about you saying that I'm the best guitar player in the world, you know. And I said, I know you wouldn't say that, because we all know there is no greatest guitar player in the world. There's so many styles, and you know, we cover so much ground, you know. And, you know, he, jokingly, you know, with a twinkle in his eye, he said, well, I might have said it, you know. So I just left it at that, you know. But I know he has said some nice things about me, and I'm very grateful for that, of course.
Okay, I hope you are enjoying the interview with Albert Lee. After the break, we're going to talk all about Music Man guitars, Fender amps, and much more. But in the meantime, I need to let you know today's episode is brought to you by Fretboard Biology, the comprehensive online guitar course put together by Joe Elliott and his team. Joe Elliott, former head of guitar at Guitar Institute of Technology in Los Angeles, so you know he knows what he's talking about when it comes to professional guitar tuition. All the information in the course is the same kind of stuff Joe would teach at GIT, preparing musicians for a professional career as guitar players. Check it out. The links are in the show notes for Fretboard Biology. Okay, back to our interview. You've had an incredible career as a sideman. I read somewhere that you are reluctant to front your own band, though. Is that true?
Oh, I was at the beginning, yeah. I didn't start singing on stage until about 10 or 15 years after I started playing. And I started to feel comfortable with it. And then I was with Head, Hands and Feet in the early 70s. And I was one of three singers. And you know, when I was with Emmylou, I'd sing a song or two. When I was with Eric, I'd sing a song or two. But it was in the 80s, really, that a friend of mine in England, Jerry Hogan, he used to run a steel guitar festival. And he called me in LA, and he said, I want you to come over and play my festival. And I said, oh, well, okay. He said, yeah, but, you know, we do about an hour, and, you know, we can run through some of your songs and whatever. And I thought, well, I felt quite daunted by it. You know, I thought, well, I've got to front the band for an hour, you know. And we did it, and it went so easily. And I thought, you know, I should have done this. So many years before, you know. And And I've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, yeah.
And still doing occasional sideman for other people too.
Sure. Now, your nickname used to be Mr. Telecaster, but it may as well be Mr. Music Man because you've been playing those guitars for so long. When did your association start?
Well, I met Ernie Ball and Sterling Ball in the early '70s when I was with Head, Hands and Feet. They heard our country boy on the radio, and they came to see us play, and they were quite tickled to discover that this new band that they were listening to were English. So we became great friends from there on. And it was through Sterling, his involvement with the Music Man Company, which was run by Leo Fender and Tom Walker. Leo Fender designed the guitars and the basses, and Tom Walker designed the amps. Mm-hmm. That's how I got involved with Music Man. And then Leo went off on his own and started G&L.
Yes, yeah.
And then the Music Man name kind of they were. I'm not sure exactly how it happened, but they decided to. Tom decided that he wanted to sell the company, so Ernie bought the Music Man name and retained Tom for a number of years. But really, they didn't put any amps out on the market. And I don't know why, actually, because I always loved their amps. I thought they were great amps. They were a little expensive, but there are a lot of expensive amps out there now, But the first thing Sterling and his father wanted to do when they bought the Music Man name was redesign a guitar, and I was there on the ground floor with that. I gave my impressions of what I'd like in a guitar, and first guitar they did was the Silhouette, which I immediately started playing.
Okay. Yeah.
And I loved it, and I started leaving the telly at home.
What were some of the things in that guitar that you were interested in incorporating as a point of difference from the telly?
I took the Silhouette out on the road with the Everly Brothers, and the pickup setup was just like a Strat, 3 pickup and 5-way switch, and the guitar was so comfortable. It looks like it's a short scale, but it just the way it's designed, mm-hmm. It looks, the whole guitar is shorter than a Fender or most other guitars, and so I immediately fell in love with them. And then Sterling had another design that he was trying to get going at the trade shows, the NAMM shows, and I really liked the look of it, and but they decided not to do anything with it at the time because they had limited production, and of course they'd taken over the production of the big selling Music Man bass that everybody loved, the Stingray. Mm-hmm. So and then I played one of their guitars, the prototypes, and it was actually called the Axis at the time, and I played that for a number of years, and it wasn't available to the general public, So when eventually they got the production up, and Sterling approached me, he said, well, I think we're going to put your guitar out. Do you want to make any changes to it, or just have it as you've been playing it? So we just left it as it was. Mm-hmm. It wasn't exactly the same because the prototype I had was all maple.
Okay.
And so the first ones they made and still make are ash body with a maple neck, But since then they've come out with some different innovations, like a double humbucker and a 3 P90 model and tremolo or without tremolo and. Mm-hmm. But I was really happy when it came out with my name on it, and because they're really cool guitars, and a few people have been playing them over the years, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. They seem to have been accepted by a lot of different styles of players too, like from rock players to country players, and lots of points in between as well.
Oh yeah. But I suppose that there are a lot of guys country guys have picked up on them because they've heard me, So
yeah, sure.
I guess but it is a versatile guitar. And then they came to me and said, well, we're thinking about putting out a double humbucker version. What do you think? I said, well, you guys know best. You know the market, and they've been good sellers. They're very popular.
Yeah.
And they're great guitars. And they got a rosewood neck too. So it's a slightly different innovation. But I still like the maple neck with the 3 single coils.
Okay. Yeah. And is that the type you'll be bringing on your next tour?
Yeah, I'll probably bring one of those down too. Yeah.
Okay. And what about amps? Do you use backline? Do you have certain requirements when you're doing the festivals and touring gigs?
Well, I stopped using the Music Man amps a while back, even though I still love them. And but they are like 30 years old, those amps. I've got a bunch of them.
Uh-huh.
But I got someone suggested that I try the Fender Tone Master, and I've ended up with like 3 of those. I've got one in England and 2 of them in LA. And what I like to do with them is cut ports in the back of it, so it's an open back cabinet.
Oh, okay, yep.
And which is, I got that idea from Eric actually, because when I started playing with him, he was playing Music Man amps, like a large cabinet, open back, with just 2 12s in it. So it was like a twin amp, but with a much larger box.
Okay, yeah.
So I started playing those for a while. When I was with Eric, I had some cabinets built. But now I'm using these Tone Masters, and I've cut the ports in the back, and so that it's got that open back feel to it.
Yep.
But trying to locate some of those, when I'm traveling around the world, is a little difficult. So I opt for the easy way out and suggest I have a twin or 2.
Okay, yeah.
So that's probably what I'll be using in Australia when I come down.
Sure. Yeah, it's good ubiquitous choice, and I'm sure you'll make good use of it.
Yeah, well, when I'm on the road in the States, so if I'm playing on the East Coast of the States, I can't bring my own stuff. So,
sure, yeah.
They supply twin amps, and I'm always happy with them.
Great stuff. And what does the rest of 2018 hold for you? So as we said, your new album, Live at the Iridium, was just released. You've got the Australian tour. I see you touring in the States again.
Well, we did. Yeah, that's not that new actually, but they needed something to promote while we were down there.
Oh, okay.
And,
okay.
So that's. But it gives a fair representation of what I'm doing on stage now.
All right, there you go. Albert Lee, that was our conversation. What an absolute gentleman, an absolute legendary figure, bona fide legendary figure of the worldwide guitar community. It was a real honour to talk to him. Now, next week on the show, we have an all-new interview with the amazing Gil Paris, talking about his new signature model Reverend guitar. Gil's been on the show a while ago, and he's just such a great guitar player and a lovely fellow to talk to as well. So I'm really looking forward to that conversation and sharing it with you. My great thanks to Fretboard Biology for sponsoring today's show. Please check out the links in the show notes, and that would be fantastic. Well, almost time for me to go. My name's Matt Wakeling. You have been listening to the Guitar Speak podcast, and as the wonderful Michael Schenker once told me,
Keep rocking. Keep on rocking.
Keep on rocking indeed. All right, thanks, guys. I'll catch you next time. Bye now.